evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the council chambers here at the police station. This is time and place that's been properly noticed for a regular meeting of the city of Caldwell. We welcome all of you on this hot but still lovely September evening. If you would all please rise, we will begin with an invocation offered by Melinda Lujan of the Caldwell Friends Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Melinda? Sure. Okay, then how about Pastor Porter?
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day in our city. We thank you for your goodness to us, the fact that we can live and work and raise our families in such a wonderful community is a blessing beyond words. We thank you for those that serve us at City Hall and through the fire department, police department, the other service agencies of our city. God, continue to keep them strong, help them to persevere, and as always, help the dollars to stretch and meet the need of a growing community. We thank you for the creativity and ingenuity that is on display before us. Father, as we go into a time of electing representation for our city, we look forward to a change, and we also, Father, look back with great gratitude as looking at those who have served us so well. Thank you again, Father, for your goodness to us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor Porter, for filling in on such short notice. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alvin?
Here.
Hopper?
Here.
Carlson?
Here.
Pollard?
Here.
McGee?
Here.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum of council members, and again, would like to excuse Council Member Wagoner. He recently had surgery. I think it all went well, and that he is recovering, and we wish him a full and speedy recovery and safety while he's away from us. Are there any items on the agenda that present a conflict of interest for council members? Thank you, and again, acknowledge Councilman Hopper is out of town, but joining us via Zoom. All right, this evening we do have a special presentation that I'd like to have the opportunity to take care of at this time. This is a proclamation that was a pleasure to be able to be a part of. We have Jackie Briggs in the audience this evening, and we will present her this proclamation afterwards, but she is heavily involved in this effort. And so, before I read the proclamation, I would just like to acknowledge this proclamation is regarding, it's called Elevate Our Everyday Heroes. And as we live in this community, we are so blessed and lucky to have the type of safety services that we do have available to us in the city and in this area. We are lucky because we are safe, and there are those who sacrifice every day to make sure that we are. And certainly we appreciate our military and those men and women of the military that protect us on a national basis, but on a local basis, we have a lot of heroes around us who are not just police officers and firefighters, EMTs, but also first responders, healthcare workers, military veterans. I mean, they're all a part of that safety that we enjoy. So when we talk about everyday heroes, that's what this proclamation is about. Is there's a whole group of people out there that make sure that we are taken care of on a daily basis and often go completely unrecognized. Many of them do this job without any accolades or requested accolades. And so thank heavens we have people like Jackie who remind us that we need to acknowledge those things. So I would like to read this proclamation in light of that sentiment. Elevate Our Everyday Heroes Day proclamation, whereas we recognize our law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMS, dispatchers, corrections officers, coroners, chaplains, retired first responders, healthcare workers, clinicians, our military, our veterans, and their families are everyday heroes. And whereas those heroes put themselves in harm's way, protecting and serving our communities without hesitation. And whereas they are called to help, serve, protect, and save lives. And whereas their selfless work can take a great toll on their physical and mental health. And whereas over the past 4 years we have seen a devastating upturn in numbers of suicides among these professions. And whereas Idaho is currently tied for 50th in the United States for having the least amount of mental health care and wellness resources available. And whereas we recognize it is paramount for us as a community to surround our first responders, members of the military, veterans, their families with love, respect, and best resources available for them to maintain their mental health and build resiliency. And whereas it has been shown that improving access to good mental health and wellness resources substantially affects their families' well-being as well as the communities in which they serve. And whereas we honor and pay tribute to those who have been lost in this line of duty or died by suicide, as well as those who continue to help keep the spirit of true heroism alive every day by serving us as everyday heroes. Now therefore, I, Garrett Mancolas, Mayor of the City of Caldwell, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2021 as Elevate Our Heroes Day. Come on forward if you would, Jackie. I will present this to you and everybody look at Debbie and you're certainly welcome to say anything you would like to the council and to the members of the audience.
Well, first
First of all, I want to say thank you very much, Garrett, and the rest of you for supporting this effort. Last year was the first year that we did this. Mayor Debbie Kling started it with us. We did a special event for our first responders, veterans, and their families at Elevate Mind Body Studios. We had every service that they offer, from massage chairs, wellness cocoon, sauna, float pods, all those things for free all day long for our everyday heroes and their families. And we did a proclamation, and this year we decided to invite the other mayors to participate because you guys have been so supportive of our first responders and our veterans. And I'm a native Idahoan. I'm the spouse of a law enforcement officer. He's also a Marine Corps veteran, and we have 2 daughters that are suicide attempt survivors. So our family has personally lived Idaho being 50th for mental health and wellness resources. And so I want to thank you personally for your efforts and helping support our first responders and our veterans and their families. They need that support, especially with the culture that's happening in the U.S. right now. And I love my Idaho, and so I appreciate that. I started an organization called Courageous Survival, and we have peer support teams for active, retired, military and veteran, first responders, and then military and veterans and spouses or significant others. We have clinical advisors. We've got a resource guide with tons of resources that are specific to them, and we get to partner with businesses and nonprofits and stuff like Elevate that will help get people the tangible resources that they need. And so, Garrett, I know that you've got some family obligations that you're not able to be there on Saturday, but Caldwell has joined with Nampa, Caldwell, Star, Eagle, Kuna, and Garden City, and so all 6 cities have done this proclamation this year, and so I am very grateful for you guys for doing that. We have a live tribute that we're doing that the proclamation is going to be read at, and that Caldwell will be acknowledged at, and the mayor for being a part of this on Saturday, and it's going to be a great event to support these guys. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you so very much, Jackie, and again, I apologize. The only living member of the generation older than I am is my uncle, and he turns 80 years old on Saturday, and so we are going to be in Salt Lake at a surprise birthday party. I hope he's not watching. At a surprise birthday party for my uncle, and so that's, again, why I apologize I can't be there, but we'll certainly be there in thought. The other thing that I would like to mention, if I may, is rather than wait till the end when under announcements, but there's also another event that is similar to this, other than it's really aimed at just law enforcement. But on the 17th, there's Back the Blue, a Back the Blue event that will be in Caldwell, and it's the same weekend as our Indian Creek Festival, so I'm hoping there'll be a good turnout. But we've got hundreds and hundreds of riders who will complete their ride Tobacco Blue, here in Caldwell. It will be at, Caldwell Night Rodeo grounds, and there'll be a nice ceremony there. So it's good to see all this, recognition, especially in the times that we see ourselves in where unfortunately parts of the nation, don't have that same respect for law enforcement that we're lucky enough to have here in Idaho, so.
Thank you guys for listening to that.
Yes, it's awesome, yes.
I just want to thank this lady for what she does. Council knows that I had a city council meeting, before the city council meeting, I had two people, both veterans, commit suicide. Friends of mine here in Caldwell. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. All right. That was the only special presentation that I'm aware of, unless there's any others. Okay. And again, Jackie, thank you. Please, let them know that, our thoughts and prayers are with them, and our congratulations, our gratitude, our respect, our love as a community is with everyone at that meeting, if you would, and just let them know I apologize again for that.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All right. The next item is, audience participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the council about an item that is not on the agenda? All right. Hearing none, we'll go forward with the agenda as printed.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Pollard.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as printed.
Thank you. Is there a second? A motion by Mr. Pollard, second by Mr. McGee, to approve the consent calendar as printed. Are there any, further discussion or questions? If not, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Pollard?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Albright?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes. All right, also, just for, just in case there's anyone here who would like to, who is interested in these items, it has been requested by staff that items number 1 and 2 under new business, and items number 4 and 5 under new business, should be continued to a time and date certain, which is October 4th at 7 p.m. in these chambers, and so, there is still research by staff pending on one of those, both items. And so we would like to, of course, when we noticed them, we were hoping that we'll have everything gathered because of the notification process, but as of tonight, we're still asking for staff to have a little bit more time. So if there's a motion, please, that begin requested items 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 under new business be continued. That way, if there's anybody here that was interested in that, they would, they can either stay or know that those are not going to be heard. So,
Mr. Mayor, you said 2 and 3, it's 1 and 2, right? 2 and 3.
2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
Mine has 1 as well.
Both one under old business?
No, this is all, these are both, all 4 new business items.
Okay. But we've got one also in old business. So we might as well do them all at the same time.
Yeah, you could do that, certainly. Yeah, this was a last minute notification here, so yes, so you can do them all if you'd like.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we continue item 1 under old business, item 2, 3, 4, and 5 under new business, till date certain, October 5th.
Well, the first one is the 18th, so we may want to
Okay.
just clarify that.
Okay,
Number 1 to the 18th,
Yeah, the 18th
number
on-
2, 3, 4, and 5 to the 5th.
on the 5th.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Carlson, is there a second? Second by Mr. McGee to continue items number 1 under old business, is 2, 3, 4, 5 under new business, to a time and date certain. Number 1 under old business is October 18th. 2, 3, 4, 5 under new business is the 4th. The 4th? Ah, I'm sorry, thank you. That's what your motion to the 4th, right?
That's what I thought it said.
That's what you thought you said.
I said 4, 5, or 6, whichever.
Okay, thank you for the correction, Mark. So again, 2, 3, 4, 5 under new business would be October 4th at 7 p.m. in these chambers. That should give me understanding of the seconder? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. All right then, the first item under old business has been continued. That moves us to item number 2, which is a public hearing pursuant to Idaho Code, Section 201002, to consider acceptance of the budget amendment for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020, and ending September 30, 2021. Mrs. Mitchell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We have before you the public hearing tonight for our fiscal year 21 budget amendment. Budget amendment is in the amount of $21,653,190. And I have you should have electronically, but I do have hard copy handouts for council that defines the details of this. Okay, as you can see, our budget amendment request is for $21,653,190. That is made up in a couple areas. In the general fund, we have an increase of $8,998,674. A couple other increases in the other departments. I'm not going to go over those in full detail. The next big one that kind of makes up this amount is in a new fund. This is Fund 11, and we call this the American Recovery Plan Act. This was the first tranche of that $12.3 million that we received from the federal government. And so this is acknowledging that receipt of $6,240,944. And again, there's some other departments in here, some other funds that have some budget amendments going on. Overall, the request for fund balance use out of this budget amendment is $1,742,565. On this detail, it will show you the various items that make up this. In the general fund, that $8 million is coming in two big pieces here. The biggest piece is from urban renewal. These are for the urban renewal projects that we have been working on through the year. And that is in $6,951,000. Two of those are big projects. So one is for the deposit to ITD for the U-stick widening of that bridge that ITD required us to pay up front. And then that North Ranch project there on 2026, $2.7 million there. The rest is other departments that we have some funding on, grant funds that we've got, that we received through the year. Then we have some increase in building permits, and then tied with that is some increase in positions that tied to those building permit revenues. If there's other departments here, I am more than happy to go through those in more detail, if you would like, or I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Carol. Again, just for those in the audience, when we had a budget at the beginning of the year, it's based upon projected expenditures. Sometimes we don't get projects completed in the year before that carry over into this year based upon either materials or bids, or sometimes we can't find a contractor to do the project. So at the end of each year, what we do is we go back through and rectify any carryover that may have happened during the course of the year, or in this case, the ARPA funds. Had no idea the federal government was going to send that money to us. So we acknowledge the receipt of those funds by amending the budget to include those. The widening of USIC was a complete and total surprise to us. Unfortunately, ITD decided to originally build the overpass, USIC overpass, as a two-lane overpass. It is on every fundamental classification map between Homedale and the other side of Boise. USIC is a 5-lane major arterial, and everybody has been building it that way. If you go to any section of Meridian, Boise, Caldwell, any place that has USIC as it's grown, USIC has been constructed at that major arterial capacity. So to put in a 2-lane overpass was just absolutely short-sighted and wrong. So we went to ITD, asked them to change the plan. They said, no, if you want to do it, you pay for it. And so it was important enough to us as a city, for economic development purposes, transportation purposes, safety purposes, being able to get police and fire over that overpass if things are crowded because of response time. So we had to shuffle and we moved things around and came up with the $4 million it took to, and of course we had to pay for it up front before they would even put it into their construction plan. So Urban Renewal Agency, and the city did come together and come up with that $4 million. So that gives you an idea of what those changes are. There's a couple of major changes, that overpass and the ARPA funds, so that's about $11 million worth, and then the other two changes were just projects that didn't complete, major projects that didn't get completed the year before that carried over into this budget. So, anyway, any questions from council? Okay, all right. Let's see. Is there anyone who has signed up to speak at this public meeting? All right, no one has signed up to speak at this public hearing. Carol, anything else you'd like to add for the public hearing?
That's it.
Okay, any final questions? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing? A motion by Mr. Allgood, second by Mr. Carlson, to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. That takes us then to the companion document, which is Bill number 53, ordinance number 3372. This is the companion document for the hearing that was just held to pass and certify the budget amendment. This is known as Bill number 53, ordinance number 3372, an ordinance of the city of Caldwell, Idaho, amending ordinance number 3291, Bill 34, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020, and ending September 30th, 2021, appropriating additional monies that are to be received and or expended by the city of Caldwell in the sum of $21,653,190 and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Carlson.
I would move that we waive the three reading rule, consider bill number 53, ordinance 3372 on its first reading by title only.
Thank you. Is there a second? A motion by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. McGee to waive the three reading process, consider bill number 53, ordinance number 3372 on its first reading by title only. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Paulson?
Yes.
Pollard?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended.
Mr. Mayor, I will sponsor bill number 53, ordinance number 72, and move for its passage.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Carlson, a second by Mr. Allgood to sponsor bill number 53, ordinance number 3372. Move for its passage on its first reading, and there is no summary for publication, so just to pass it on its first reading by title only. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Paulson?
Yes.
Pollard?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bill passes unanimously on its first reading by title only. That completes item number 3. Takes us to item number 4, which is also a public hearing. This is a public hearing of conveyance of certain real property to Canyon County for the purpose of constructing a fairgrounds expo building. Mr. Hilty.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. I thought about giving some of the history behind this process, but it goes back farther than I want to. I might be embarrassed about the number of years we've been dealing with potential property transfers to the county regarding the fairgrounds. But virtually my entire tenure here as city attorney, we've been dealing with the county. Some years that process moves well, and some it was not moving great. But the effort always was to entice county development and investment in the existing fairgrounds, and to not move the fair out of Caldwell, as had been planned for several of those years. The county's position, at least when it was favorably considering development of the current fairgrounds for the future home of Canyon County Fair, was that if they were going to make major investment, that they would want to have property transferred to them for that purpose, and the city has virtually always agreed In fact, there was, previously an area near Gabriella Field that was transferred to the county for that purpose. They didn't develop on that. It was eventually transferred back. But now we have, the Canyon County Fair building under construction. I think you're all aware of that. The city is certainly making good on long-standing representations, some embodied in joint powers agreements, that once, the county was ready to, make a major investment and commit to this site for the long-term home of the Canyon County Fair, that we would be, partnering with them as a city to transfer property, to give them a stake, in this and to let them buy into that, facility. There is a statutory process for the transfer of properties between governmental agencies that are tax supported, and that's really what we're doing here tonight. We're following through on that process, part of which is to notify the public of the pending transfer and to allow the public the opportunity to, weigh in whether they think it's a good idea or not. So your job tonight is, ahead of any final formal action on the transfer, to take public comment on this issue. I do want to point out that the transfer is contemplated without what we consider to be formal consideration. Usually when you're transferring property to somebody, you're being paid for that. That is not the case here. The transfer is, well, I won't say it's for free. It is without, they're not paying for this property. The benefits flowing back to the city are the development of the site, permanence of the Canyon County Fair, the economic boost that is, and the commitment to work forward in joint ways. It probably, we might see hopefully see some future development improvements out there, at the fairgrounds as well. So that really is the consideration that's being given by the county for this property. There is a deed restriction that provides that the property would come back to the city, if it was ever in the future not used for the fair. So, it is a transfer, free of charge, but with a purpose in mind that certainly benefits the city. So that's what's before you tonight. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hilty. I think you were still in high school maybe when this started.
Yeah, I was, I think when I started the city attorney, I was, 9.
Anyway, thank you for that brief background and explanation. Are there any questions from council? Again, this has been a long draft process, and I appreciate, I don't know if there's any county representatives here, I don't see any, but certainly appreciate the partnership with the Canyon County Fair, with Canyon County Commissioners, College of Idaho, Caldwell Rodeo, City of Caldwell. Everyone has been involved in a master plan that the city did adopt formally for its entire 90 acres to be used as an events area for the City of Caldwell and for the county. The piece of property that Brent has, I don't know if you can see the little arrow that is moving there, that little brown piece, is where the new fair building will be constructed. That is where we are transferring property from the city to the county. Again, both tax-supported agencies, as Mr. Hilton mentioned, and we're just so glad that this has finally come to rest, that the fair will be here for generations to come and provide that benefit to our families and to the youth in 4-H and agriculture, all the wonderful things that we celebrate here in Canyon County. So, all right. Again, there's no one signed up to speak at this public hearing. Is there anyone that wanted to sign up that didn't see the sheets? Okay. With that being the case, if there's no further comments or questions, is there a motion to close this public hearing? Second. A motion, Mr. Allgood, second by Mr. Carlson. Close the public hearing regarding the conveyance of property to Canyon County. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. That takes us then to item number 5, which is the companion document for the hearing that was just held. This is known as Bill number 54, ordinance number 3373. This is regarding, I will read it by title only, again, regarding the conveyance of property to Canyon County, and I would ask for council's consideration, passing this on its first reading by title only. And again, on this one, I do not believe there is, yes, there is a summary for publication on this one. This is Bill number 54, ordinance number 3373, an ordinance enacted by the Caldwell City Council determining that it is in the city's best interest that a conveyance of certain real property be made without consideration to Canyon County, a tax-supported governmental unit, declaring this ordinance to be severable, providing an effective date, and repealing all conflicting ordinances thereof.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we waive the three reading process and consider bill number 54, ordinance number 3373 on its first reading by title only.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion by Mr. Pollard, a second by Mr. McGee, to waive the three reading process, consider bill number 54, ordinance number 3373 on its first reading by title only. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Pollard,
Yes.
McGee, Alden,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Pollard.
I will sponsor bill number 54, ordinance number 3373, move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. A motion by Mr. Pollard, second by Mr. Carlson to sponsor bill number 54, ordinance number 3373, move for its passage on its first reading by title only and to approve the summary for publication. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Pollard,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Alden,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bill number 54, ordinance number 3373, has been passed unanimously by the Caldwell City Council. Just quickly also for reference, the action that the council just took, there's a couple of things that might interest you there, maybe, maybe not. One of the things that the legislature has authorized, in years past is for the council to consider passing items on their first reading by title only if they're considered non-controversial or an emergency type situation. There are some circumstances where the council can do that. It's something the council has to do by a majority of the council. I cannot break a tie, that's why we do a roll call vote on those types of actions to make sure it's on the record that that suspension of rules was done by a majority of the council. The other thing that we saw tonight is a summary for publication. We do have to publish ordinances, but to publish ordinances in their entirety is often very expensive, especially larger ordinances such as the budget or comprehensive plan documents or zoning documents. They're very expensive to publish if we had to publish the whole thing in the newspaper. So what the legislature has authorized is that the attorney can do a summary of the ordinance for publication, so the council can approve that. That way we don't have to notice the entire ordinance in the newspaper. It's more effective from a tax standpoint, also more effective just in reality that we don't have to go through that process and ask staff to prepare that long, long document for publication. So those are two things that the council can do. They do have to do it by a majority of the council. So tonight you've heard me say a couple times, all in favor, please say aye. Those are things that we can tell by a roll call, but to make sure that we are following any suspension of rules or things that may be out of the ordinary, those are things that we require a majority of the council to approve. So just want to explain that to you, why sometimes we do it one way, sometimes we do it another. And that was a brief description, and I hope it made sense to you. All right, that concludes item number 5. Moves us to item number 6 under old business. To consider resolution 294-21, adopting a schedule of fiscal year 2021 fees for services provided and regulatory charges as specified by the Caldwell City Code for the Caldwell Event Center, Canyon Hill Cemetery, City Clerk Department, Caldwell Fire Department, Golf Department, Caldwell Library, Planning and Zoning Department, Caldwell Police Department, and the Parks and Recreation Department. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. We have before you tonight the resolution for the departments that the mayor just identified in the resolution. These are for the new fees for fiscal year 22. They will become effective at the new, beginning of the new fiscal year on October 1. We did discuss these in our budget workshops that we held through the summer, and that we also did a public hearing back in August on any of these fees that were new or exceeded the 5% that we're allowed to, that we're required to hold a public hearing for. So with that, I will stand for questions. The other fees that will be coming before you tonight is a request for public hearing, and those are tied to the Public Works Department. So Mr. Orton will be requesting a public hearing under his item agenda tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All right, and again, to get here tonight, for those in the audience, it's a lengthy process. We have, gone through public hearings, public workshops, recommendations from staff, going clear back to springtime and all through the summer. And so the public hearing was held in August on these. And so this is the companion document that finalizes those fees that were presented during the workshops and also in the public hearing. So I will read this resolution by its title only and ask for council to consider this resolution. This is a resolution of the City of Caldwell, Idaho, a municipal corporation of Idaho, adopting a schedule of fees for services provided and regulatory charges as specified by city code for Caldwell Event Center, Canyon Hill Cemetery, City Clerk, Caldwell Fire Department, Golf, Caldwell Library, Planning and Zoning, Caldwell Police Department, and Caldwell Parks and Recreation.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Carlson.
I would move that we approve resolution number 294-21 for fiscal year 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second? A motion by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. McGee, to approve resolution 294-21 as read. Further discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Paulson?
Yes.
Muller?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes. Thank you very much. Resolution number 294-21 has been adopted unanimously by the Caldwell City Council. All right, that completes the old business calendar. Moves us to the new business calendar, which the first item is to accept the notice of a public hearing to be held on Monday, September 20th, to consider an increase of fees over 5% that previously charged for the airport, water, sewer, and engineering department. Mr. Orton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So most of the fees proposed here, this enumerates the fees that are either new or over 5% of that previously charged. In the airport, this is based on the Engineering News Record Index. They have two primary indices. One is for construction of infrastructure, or it's called the Construction Index, and one for buildings, which is more specific to construction of buildings. The infrastructure one is more appropriate to what occurs at the airport, and that's what's been used to guide the increase of the fees. For airport lease rates, eventually we do intend, as we've discussed in budget workshops, to try to move that more to a, simply a, cost-based fee. This leaves that fee less than that amount, but a cost-based fee would be, basically saying, hey, what is the cost to provide the services at the airport, and we should charge fees accordingly. That is augmented by some property tax. The airport is a special revenue fund, which receives property taxes dedicated to the airport, and also, the city has chosen to use some sales tax to help fund the airport operation. So that's how it's currently funded, but that results in a 6.98% increase in the airport fees. In the other funds, these are mostly new fees. I'm trying to remember if there are any. There are more impact fees we should discuss too. Water fees, it's just new fees and some fines relative to misuse. As we're growing, we're seeing more misuse of fire hydrants, illicit use, which is unfortunate and also dangerous, right? One of the fines proposed here is a fine for someone who might dig up a water main and connect to it illicitly without paying appropriately, and then if there's a competence issue, they could put the citizens at risk. So there's a substantial fine there. Proposed for illegal acts like that. Engineering fees maintains the present fee structure, but it does include a design fee for roundabouts. The reason why is roundabouts are pretty technical from an engineering standpoint, and this allows us to get some outside help to make sure that those roundabouts are designed in a way that they'll be used well. So those are new fees again. Sewer fees, just new fees for emergency septic dumping. So if the citizens or the users of the sewer system have a septic hauler who needs an emergency dump and he calls a sewer worker in or a treatment plant worker in, we can compensate it's not being subsidized by the users. And finally, impact fees. Impact fees for parks, fire, and police. The impact fee committee met and considered, based on an average of the Engineering News Record building and construction indices, which is appropriate because those capital improvement plans include
mostly both of those, with the exception of the fire apparatus and patrol cars and police and fire, all of the infrastructure that's in those capital improvement plans is relevant to building of infrastructure or buildings. So, the committee proposes an increase in those fees on the basis of, the engineering news record from the year when the capital improvement plan was created and the estimates were done for it, up to the present year. Which should and is hopeful to create, to keep those fees having the same buying power as they were proposed to have in fulfilling the capital improvement plan. And so that's actually a pretty substantial increase of, I believe that's like 14.5% or something in that neighborhood. You'll see that in the resolution, as it comes before you. So with that, this is just a notice of hearing to be held at the next council meeting, and I'll stand for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Orton. Questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coulson?
Mr. Orton, on the agenda, it does not have impact fees, so do we just add that in the? What's that, Debbie? Yeah. So do we just add that in?
I think that's possible. This is a notice of the public hearing, which must also be noticed up in the newspaper. And Debbie has helped us with that, and the newspaper notice did include the impact fees.
Okay.
So, unless
Probably
our
just a typo.
council, yeah, we should be okay, so.
So the notification is proper.
The notification is proper, yes, this is the notification that you have in your packet, so it's gone to the newspaper.
All right, questions for Mr. Orton? Besides that? All right, again, the request tonight is to set a public hearing. The one thing that I would like to make a comment for those that are in the audience, impact fees are fees that are designed to keep a level of service but not increase the level of service that we have. We have impact fees in police, fire, parks. We are also considering impact fee in transportation. But those are just fees that are intended to keep the capital side at the same level. Capital fees, or excuse me, impact fees cannot pay for personnel. So for example, if we have parks impact fee and we go buy property for it, the general fund or property tax dollars that would be used to pay and support the parks department would have to hire those personnel to maintain the new acreages of land, for example, that we would buy. Fire and police, we can build substations, police stations, we can buy fire trucks or anything that has a 10-year life expectancy or longer with impact fees, but again, it cannot be used for personnel purposes. So even though we may grow and need a station number 4 eventually for the fire department, the last one was near 5.2 million, 5.3 million, somewhere in there by the time they got built. So what we do is we try to anticipate what the cost would be with increases of construction costs, include that in these formulas, for example, and that would be part of what the fee is for an impact fee, to make sure that as we grow, that when it comes time to build station number 4, that we hopefully have the capital to do that. But again, it won't pay for the firefighters to man the station. That is paid for through property tax. So just as an example, that's the way the impact fees work. The other fees are for basically user fees. If you use something and need that fee, then you pay for that. These are for enterprise funds, for the most part, or special revenue funds, where they're fee-based and we have to raise funds to continue providing that service to our community. So these are fees that if you need water or sewer and you use our treatment plant or our water system, then the fees are applicable. If you're on a septic system or your own private well, you don't pay for the water and fees or the sewer fees. So these are truly all user fee related. So, Mr. Orton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Something I should have mentioned, per the council's guidance in the budget workshop process, the water fees will not increase this year. So this only addresses the creation of those new fees and fines relative to customer service issues or fines for illicit activities.
Thank you. All right, with that, is there a motion to set the public hearing for Monday, September 20th, 2021 in these chambers?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coulson.
I would move that we approve a public hearing held for Monday, September 20th, 2021, to consider increase in new fees fees over 5% of the previously charged for the airport, water, sewer, engineering, and impact fees.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. McGee to set the public hearing for Monday, September 20th. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. All right, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have all been continued to a time and date certain, which is October 4th. Thanks to Mr. Hilty. And so those have all already been continued. The next item is the financial report.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Allgood.
the Finance Committee has reviewed accounts payable in the amount of $1,861,432.12 for the period ending September 1, 2021. A net payroll of $386,420.82 for pay period ending August 20th, 2021. I move that accounts payable in the amount of $1,861,432.12, represented by check numbers 155792 through 156225, and payroll in the amount of $386,420.82, represented by check numbers 36449 through 36466, and direct deposits to be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Second. Thank you. A motion by Mr. Allgood, second by the right side, or whoever, Mr. Pollard, to accept the financial report as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carried unanimously. Just as a comment again on the financial report, that is an action that the council takes every 2 weeks, but the finance department, appointed officials have all kinds of accounting procedures that they go through on a daily basis. And it's almost Mrs. Mitchell's favorite time of the year, because as we complete the end of the fiscal year, then we are graced with the presence of auditors for several weeks. And the entire process is audited very, very carefully by a group of outside auditors to check for compliance with GASB rules, accounting procedures and policies, state rules, federal rules, how we spend money in enterprise funds, special revenue funds, single audits for federal money. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of inspection that goes on by the auditors, and I'm happy to say that for many years now, we have had A+ on our audits, and so congratulations to you, Mrs. Mitchell, and all the staff and finance committee and others that are involved in making sure those procedures are followed. So just wanted to mention that this is part of that process, of the entire budget process. Very complicated process. That's why it takes us months to get from the beginning to the end, and it seems like we pass it, and then all of a sudden, it's time to start again. So, just wanted to mention that. Thank you again, Mrs. Mitchell. All right, council reports, Mr. Pollard.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Carlson.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Hopper.
Nothing for me, sir.
Mr. Allgood.
As the first Yost game in Caldwell, they did a wonderful job, weren't quite successful, but they did a wonderful job, turnout was excellent, and, it's good to have it back and running again.
Thank you. Mr. McGee. Thank you. Just a couple things. Would like to mention that we do have a lot going on in the economic development world. We just did review 4 requests for proposal, 4 submissions for requests for proposal for the Bent Machine Shop site and the empty lot next to it. All very nice presentations. The committee that did the interview involved urban renewal staff, community members, urban renewal members. Pastor Porter was involved in that. Betsy Hunsicker from West Valley Medical Center and others. We did come up with a recommendation that will be presented Monday night at Urban Renewal for their consideration for a new project to begin construction sometime after the first of the year. In their presentation, they mentioned that they would be done by, and hopefully be done and open by September of next year. It'd be a wonderful addition to downtown. Just also for an update, I know Mr. Hilty is working very closely with the developers for the Creekside project, which is the empty lot that used to host the Saratoga Hotel and, has been empty for a little while. But that begins construction by December first. We're in the final stages of the disposition and development agreement, also known as the DDA. That is a multi-tens of millions of dollars project that will be 4 stories tall. The bottom level will all be retail, restaurants, access to the creek, walking, ability to connect with the plaza. Second floor is a combination of some, commercial as well as office, but, residential, and then the 3rd and 4th floors will be at market or above residential. I believe 130-ish units, that will be there. It'll be a 4-story building. The design is beautiful. It goes before the Design Review Commission, I believe, on the 27th of September. So that is moving along quickly. If any of you are interested in attending those hearings, you're certainly welcome to. But those are both beautiful new projects for downtown Caldwell, and will certainly keep the momentum going that's already there. You've also noticed that across the railroad tracks, we are well underway for a new parking lot. There's I don't know how many parking places that will be constructed there, but it is under full construction now and will be completed prior to the December 1st timeline when the other begins construction. So hopefully we can still have some room for those folks that have parked there. But that parking lot is under construction as well. So those are just some of the things that we're working on from an economic development standpoint. Again, I already mentioned, but if you weren't here for that, the Back the Blue event is on the 17th at, I believe, 6 o'clock at the Caldwell Night Rodeo Fairgrounds, which is coming up. We also have, is that correct? And then also the weekend of the 17th and 18th is the Indian Creek Festival, which is a wonderful time in downtown Caldwell. I would encourage you all to find time to come down and attend that. It's going to be a wonderful event, partnership between Destination Caldwell, the City of Caldwell. And then the State of the City Address is on the 23rd of September at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Jewett Auditorium, College of Idaho. It will be a combined event, so you can attend it in person if you'd like to, but also be available virtually in light of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. And then the most important thing, on the 25th is my wife's birthday. So, if any of you are inclined, she loves old stuff, right? My wife will shoot me if she knows I mentioned her birthday on it. But anyway, that's all the comments I have. Yes?
Mayor's Youth fundraiser.
Oh, thank you. I somehow overlooked that. Mayor's Youth Advisory Council fundraiser dinner is on the 24th at O'Connor Fieldhouse. That begins at 6 o'clock that evening, and that is how our Mayor's Youth Advisory Council funds their own events and activities throughout the year. And so, again, we'd love to have you there. There are tickets available. If you'd like to contact City Hall, Sonda can certainly direct you on the purchase of those tickets, and or if you'd like to donate something for that evening, we'd certainly welcome those donations as well. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Pollard. Okay, with that, we have an executive session this evening. Is there a motion to go into executive?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Pollard.
I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74206, subsection 1B, for the purpose of discussing the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Pollard, second by Mr. Allgood, to move into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74206. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Pollard?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes.
Thank you. We are in executive session. Thank you all for attending tonight. Go ahead. Hi, Tracy. Tracy.
No, I was born in Idaho when my dad was in the Navy, and I did my service, and we talked about radio. Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if you guys were adjourning after, or that was something to think of.
We can take time for that.
Yeah, once we get ready to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know how long.
we don't want you to have to sit and wait that long and then not get it done.